A very warm welcome and good morning to each and every one of you. Welcome to our annual Career Networking event. I'm Hiba Abbasi, and I would like to welcome you all on behalf of the University of Manchester Middle East Center. I would like to start by briefly introducing the University of Manchester for those who don't know us and for the corporates that are joining us today. The University of Manchester is the largest UK-based university with strategic partnership and collaboration worldwide. For more than 25 years, the university has been forming global partnerships and providing centers of learning across 4 continents and in 6 countries, in Manchester, in Hong Kong, in Shanghai, in Singapore, in Dubai, and in Brazil. Today, the university is one of the top world-ranked universities in the world, focusing on the quality of teaching, research, and social responsibility. We are ranked 27th in the world as per the QS University rankings for this year, 2021. And we are also ranked #1 in the world by the Times Higher Education rankings for our societal impact. And this is based on our knowledge and our contribution for sustainable development and societal impact. In 2006, the University of Manchester Middle East Center was launched in Dubai by its founding director, Randa Seso, to offer the part-time global MBA program for working professionals. And since then, we have come a long way. In 2017, we have started operating as the University of Manchester Middle East Center, representing the university's entire activities in the region. And we have also expanded our programs to offer, in addition to the global MBA program, other specialist master's programs such as Masters in Education and Leadership in Practice, Real Estate, Financial Management, and we have equally exciting programs coming up really soon. As per this slide, the University of Manchester, like I said, has been ranked #1 in the world for our societal impact. And the Middle East Center is very strongly committed to social responsibility. And so since our launch in 2006, we have supported various charity organizations, such as Remuneration, SOS Children's Villages, and Noor Training Center, and others. This year, we have partnered with Dubai Cares and one of their leading projects, which is Dubai Adopted School Project. And this project aims at providing thousands of children in developing countries with primary education. We are committed really to build a school in one of the developing countries to provide hundreds of children in Nepal with education. And we have collaborated with our students, and alumni, and entire community to build this. So let's take a look at this short video. To learn more about this project, visit our page, social responsibility page on the university's website, which is www.manchester.ac.a. Today, the Middle East Center today supports more than 2,800 students who are all working professionals and come from 100 nationalities. We have graduated 1,800, and we have developed a regional alumni community of approximately 4,500 alumni who live and work in this region. And now, to the important part of this session, which is the career event. The career event is an annual event that we hold in order to share knowledge with students and alumni and corporate partners about the current job market, about the latest employment trends, and we're going to talk about the top skills that recruiters look for in candidates, and we will discuss career change and other topics which are related to careers. The session will begin with a panel discussion on these topics, and then it will be followed by networking with corporate representatives in company-specific breakout rooms. And I will come to that part when we get to it. But now I would like to begin by introducing and welcoming our guest speakers. So a warm welcome to Iman Al-Abed, who is the head of human capital at Abu Dhabi Developmental Holding. Tim Shelton, who's a global product owner at Arcadis Global. Mirna Al-Khouri, talent acquisition and development senior manager at Jum'a Imagine Holding Group. Zaid Salman, operational and commercial advisory at Deloitte Financial Advisory. Unfortunately, Marwan Al-Namr has an urgent emergency and he won't be able to join us today. And last but not least, Osama Al-Khouri, who is the Director of Creative Technology at Dubai World Trade Center. He's also a strategy consultant, public speaker, content creator, and our moderator for today's session. And now, without any further ado, I would like to pass it on to Osama to start the panel discussion.
Thank you very much. I'm obviously eager. Thank you very much, Hiba. Thank you, everybody, for being here. It's an honor to be hosting and moderating the session for all of you here. Hiba, just a quick question. I don't know. I don't feel the anxiety of stage anxiety. Maybe because I'm sitting in my home. Can you take a photo? Can you take a photo of how it looks like? So am I like on the big screen and everybody's watching? Can you take a photo and send it to me?
Can you take a photo from the
Because without the pressure, the stage pressure, the performance won't be as good. I just want to make sure that my performance is good for all of you here.
Oh, I think we'll hear from the audience about your performance.
Okay, so until you send, I'd like to welcome everybody here to the University of Manchester Annual Career Networking Event 2021. It's so good to have you here and see all your healthy smiles and always in growth mode. Today's an interesting day, folks. Today, we're talking about jobs, careers, and what should you do and know to make the transition into the recovery phase post-pandemic. You know, on the 11th of March last year, the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 as a pandemic. This then sent shockwaves throughout the world, impacting careers, businesses, and entire industries. Unemployment rate hit record highs. Hundreds of millions, went out of job within weeks. And the ones that remained, the least that happened to them is had massive salary cuts. I know I did. By show of hands, okay, by show of virtual hands, I don't know if this is possible or not. I asked Heba and she said yes. How many of you either had a salary cut, a job loss, or know someone who had a salary cut or a job loss? Are we able to do that? Okay, so virtually we have 2, 3, almost everybody in the physical audience.
In person, we have a great number of hands. I don't know if you're able to show that. I'll move to the other part of the room. Keep the hands up. Yeah, we have
Let's
one.
see. So I have 74 participants. See, okay, that's good enough. That's a good amount of people. So you see here, the impact is massive, on the industries, but also on our lives. But if you think about it, the impact was not all negative. The ripple effect through economies, industries, and markets were not equal. Yes, some industries have, had unprecedented growth, such as technology and healthcare industries. Others collapsed and mostly closed down, such as the airline industry and, my industry, the events industry. Similarly, some jobs and skill sets were easy to be terminated. Others' jobs and skill sets are essential and difficult to replace. All in all, a year later, and a full recovery to pre-2020 for the jobs market still appears distant. Expectations go as far as more than 3 years for the jobs market to recoup. So how should we deal with this knowledge now? Okay, another round of hands. By show of hands, who had a life-changing and eye-opening moments that changed their perspective about jobs, education, and skills in the past year?
In person, we have 7 on this side, and we have 7, 8. So we've got almost 15 people in person.
So you can see that, you know, I can assure you that every single person who's professional and in the working industry had an eye-opening moment. But the question is, who actually acted on it? I think this is the real question that I ask myself every morning. You see, research shows that those with less education experienced greater job loss than those with a higher education. But so now this is just to set the scene and tell you a little about why we're having this career and how important it is for us to be coached and probably get together, understand from each other what's best that we could do to maintain and become those who are very, very difficult to get released. So let's start with our panelists here. And I'll ask the first question that each panelist, I would expect them to answer a 1 minute, you know, within 1 minute. The question is, what impact did COVID-19 had on the industry, on your industry, and how did that impact the careers and jobs? And I'll start with Iman. Iman, can you hear us? You'll see me look left and right because I have the screen here and I have the camera in the middle. So, Iman, are you here? Is she here?
Maybe we should start with someone else.
Okay. So, Tim, I'll ask the question again. What was the impact of COVID-19 on your industry? And what was the impact on careers and jobs within that industry? Tim.
Morning, everyone. Yeah, thank you. Substitute first. Fantastic. Well, I work in construction, design, engineering, and obviously the pandemic had a fundamental impact on us. We've always had this reputation of being a fragmented, conflict-ridden, low-margin, cash-driven industry, and I think what the pandemic did was just further expose those flaws. Unfortunately, I don't want to start off being too negative, but that's ultimately what it did. And what the pandemic did was really shine a light on the value that the industry delivers to its markets, both from a what perspective, but also from a how perspective. And really, it shone a light on what we needed to do as an organisation to become more agile and resilient and build back better. This term that's being bandied around quite a lot. Technology was around before the pandemic. Technology will continue to be around. What the pandemic did was force us to adopt technology and really get us to leverage the benefits of technology. At the same time, in order to generate more value from the technology that we're adopting, we needed to change our business models. We needed to change our organisation, which we had planned to do before. It's part of our long-term strategy. But this really gave it a bit of a kick, if I'm honest. So the sort of skills that we're now looking for are those ones that will enable that change and will enable new products to be put to market, and often products that are technology enabled. Obviously, I can expand on a little bit more on this, later in the discussion. But we are generally looking at new skill sets that we can source from the market. And importantly, I would say on how we can evolve existing skill sets within our organisation. And I think that's an important point to pick up on later in the discussion as well.
So the impact was clear, but the impact, I like how you put a positive spin on it. Like you're looking for new skill sets, and this is exactly what we'll discuss here later in this discussion. Mirna, can you tell us what was the impact of COVID-19 on your industry and the jobs and careers within that?
Good morning, everyone. And first of all, thank you all for being here. It's my pleasure. As you may know, I'm Jumal Majd Group. We are a group of more than 26 different companies in various industries. So I'll take you briefly through each industry and how it affected us. So starting with the travel, as we had different travel agencies, of course, for that we had to downsize massively. Then we have the automotive industry, which was also hugely affected. We had also to downsize massively. Then we moved to the real estate, which in there we mainly do leasing because we don't do selling. For there, it was mainly sustainable as is. However, we also had to downsize slightly. Then we had the consumer goods, the FMCG. That area was doing very good. So where we had to utilize the affected people and transfer them. So we did a massive transfer among different industries, different departments, and so on. And then we had the contracting, which we had many projects ongoing that it wasn't affected. And we had the office equipment and home appliances, which was slightly affected. But then at the end of the day, the impact, I would say, wasn't huge for the reason that the group was kind of, because we have a balanced portfolio, we take from here, move it from here. We ended up doing a lot of secondments, a lot of transfer. And hence that was a pretty much eye-opening on exactly what Tim was saying on the skill set that we really require, which we're going to be touching on later on. So brief, we downsized a lot, we transferred, we did a lot of secondments, and we had to close one or two branches within the travel industry.
Yeah, I think the decision of choosing people to use them from one business unit to the other was based on skill set and their soft and hard skills, which we'll touch on that in a later question.
Absolutely.
Zaid, what do you think?
Yes, thanks, Osama. Morning, everyone. Zaid Salman. So in our industry, which is professional services, we had to revisit our solution offerings. We essentially went back to the drawing table to understand, what do clients need from us, both during the recovery phase and then subsequent to that, what we call the thrive phase. And we came up with a set of propositions around how we can help our customer base essentially mitigate the effects of the COVID pandemic. And the second part to that is understanding what do we need in order to deliver that service. That in part meant retraining some of our teams on issues relating to sort of restructuring, redesigning new business models. There was an aspect of digital enablement there, and supporting companies in putting together business plans during times of distress, helping them execute those plans, and providing assistance to partly to automate some of their back office functions through leveraging technology, but also understanding, okay, where do they need to be in 3 years' time, 5 years' time, helping them put together a vision, a clear business plan, and an implementation roadmap in order to realize their objectives, and use this really as a moment to give them a chance to really sort of transform their operating model, to think about, is this now really the best time to, implement a series of transformational changes in the business, and if so, what are the key projects and programs that they need to think about. So that was it. It was partly sort of a revision of our service offerings, and also part retraining, or in some cases cross-training our staff.
You see, that shows the organization. I think it's a telltale how the organization treats their employees whenever there's a change? First, three things you mentioned, which is new product innovation, and then fast track digital adoption, but most importantly, retrain your own assets, the human capital that you have, to leverage the new opportunities. Brilliant. What's that, Hiba? Iman is here. Okay, Iman. Thank you very much for joining us. The question is, what was the COVID-19 impact on your industry, and how did it impact careers and jobs within your company?
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Iman. So for those who doesn't know or who don't know ADQ, we are a holding company, and our main business is investments. So what we do is that we are active asset managers for most of Abu Dhabi government companies. So what we do is we manage those big assets. So how it impacted us, because we work in multiple sectors. So we were mandated to establish new businesses to cope with the crisis. So for example, we were mandated to establish a new food security company. Our healthcare sector was actually also mandated to expand and to take more responsibilities. On the other side, some sectors were dramatically affected, like for example, the airlines. Al-Ittihad Airways attacked the airport, so they massively also downsized. We had to introduce a lot of new policies and procedures to adapt, like working from home. Second meant like my colleagues just explained. Basically, the automation and digitization also had a great piece of that. So we had also to automate a lot of our processes, to digitize a lot of services to cope with this. We, as a company, as a standalone ADQ, we did not downsize. We are already a very boutique company, very small one. So we actually did not affect, we were not massively affected. However, we had to cope. We had to reskill our people on how to work from home, how to keep the work-life balance, how to adapt with the new normal. So that's basically what impacted us, or what was the impact on ADQ during the pandemic.
Iman, thank you very much. I think the common theme amongst all of us, including my industry and my company, is adaptation. Everybody mentioned the word adaptation and secondment, which is really a necessary and vital skill, whether it's at a company level or at an individual level, to survive, let alone to perform better. You see, folks, our goal today is for you to take away something, a new idea, you see, a fresh perspective, a new strategy that you can apply to be more successful in your career. So here's the format to give you an idea of what to expect. I'll start the conversation now asking questions that should draw our attention to themes such as skills, development, and long-term career planning. And then we'll have the one question, which is everyone will share their own opinion and sometimes even a fact about what should we draw our attention to, the most important trait and characteristic for candidates to land their dream job. So have a sip. If your coffee is finished, refill again, sit back and enjoy the show. First question about the recovery. So this is where it's very nice. When I said have a sip of coffee, everybody just sipped a coffee, which is nice. Coffee is just what gathers all of us together, right? It's Manchester style.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so first question, and I will direct this question to Zaid. Zaid, how do you expect the recovery to progress, and how long do you think it will take to achieve? So it's really two questions. The first question is, how do you think it will recover, and for how long?
Good questions. I'll try and tackle the first one. How will it progress? I think for a lot of companies, there's going to be a clear focus on operational efficiency, on being more productive, on having teams that are better skilled, that are more adaptable, that are more flexible. And that definition of flexibility will obviously differ according to the company and the industry. But in short, I think, companies can't afford to waste resources, if I can put it so crudely. I think companies need to understand, have a much clearer strategy and a sense of purpose. They need to identify their role vis-a-vis their competitors in the industry and need to really understand what their value proposition is. How long? It's a tough one, really, and I think also it depends on the industry. Some industries are more resilient than others. Those, in general, I think those that have embraced technology and innovation, all those things that you espoused at the beginning, will generally fare better than those that haven't. But it's going to be a difficult transition period for all industries, I think, because I do believe all of us are still trying to get to grips with this new way of working, whether that's remote working, whether it's serving clients in different ways, whatever it is. I think that's just how it is, and flexibility, adaptability are the key things as I see it.
Exactly. I think the new normal is something that's not new anymore. It's just the way it is. It just accelerated what many were advocated prior. And that's, I think, the opportunity that if, exactly like what you said, if companies are able to seize this opportunity, they will survive and probably make even good profit out of it. Okay, so I'll turn the question to Iman. And the second question, still we're in the recovery theme. What will the GCC new normal look like for the recruitment and talent perspective? And when you can suddenly work effectively from anywhere, what does that mean for business setups here? So it's really two questions. The first one is what does GCC's new normal look like for recruiters and recruitment and talent perspective? And remote working and everything else from companies. What do you think about that?
Well, I think now employers are looking for a different skill set in their candidates. So, for example, they are looking for people who are more flexible and adaptable, as just Zaid mentioned. So some traits are being now valued more than others. That's what we're looking for. I think also some jobs are on their way to disappear, and some jobs are on their way to flourish. So that's also based on our new normal. So things that are, for example, related to technology or automation or digitization. We have created a whole new sector for digital transformation, for example, to work across the portfolio. So the recruitment has been definitely changed, or we changed our mindset. So now, before it was kind of hard to bring people, for example, from around the world to work. During the pandemic, I had to onboard people in Netherlands and Asia Pac, in US and Europe. And they were working just like us because we all had to work from home, right? So that also impacted, that reduced our cost and increased our efficiency. I think the opportunity now, I think the pandemic didn't have that negative impact on recruitment, but otherwise I see that it opened a lot of opportunities because some businesses had to expand in regions that they didn't work in before just to try to recover. And working from home and people being flexible about the working hours or whatever it is also opened the doors for a lot of candidates to get opportunities in regions that they wouldn't ever think of working in. You don't have really to relocate to get a good job somewhere. That's in my views because we have done it actually.
So let me ask Mirna. Iman touched on a very, I would dare to say, dangerous and scary thought, and is that for recruiters and for companies, the job market now is not just GCC; it's actually the world. So
everywhere.
If I'm able, exactly everywhere. So if I'm able to hire someone from, let's say, India or Europe or Africa, and he's more talented but substantially, I'm not saying it in a derogatory way, but cheaper, then what will happen to people in GCC? What do you think? Did that transform the recruitment and the way you look at new candidates here in GCC?
Absolutely, but with the fact that we were constantly, even before the corona, looking into talents around the world, but with the fact of the inability to issue visas and so on, so we were limited with looking outside. So in certain industries, we were actually really forced to be looking into GCC. And yes, you're absolutely right when you said talents overseas are cheaper than talents in GCC itself. So this was also an eye-opening to the management on relooking into their different strategy, into how we can cut on some unnecessary jobs. For example, like a lot of admin work, a lot of secretarial work, a lot of data entry clerks, and how we can utilize those talents to use them instead of hiring even in GCC, because we had to put a freeze for some time. So if I got your question right on the recruitment, I mean, whether it's cheaper overseas or internal or in UAE, we actually didn't, we were not in a situation where we were looking into any recruitment that time. During the COVID, we had to put hold and look into the internal resources and see how we can utilize them. So the focus during COVID wasn't actually recruitment or where is cheaper or what exactly we need. We were looking internally, what are the developments we can do, how we can do a quick look into our strategy and how we can utilize the resources internally. So it was a lot of internal work within the talent team, the facilitators, the mentors, on how we can mainly have these people, because there was a lot of fear element engaged that time. So to look into those people who are emotionally intelligent and get them to quickly adapt to different work styles and different industries, it wasn't easy at all. So I'm not sure if I answered.
No, I think you touched on a very, very, again, it's a thrilling thought that cheaper versus skilled. So for companies, they want to have highly skilled, cheaper labor, or and for employees, they would like to have higher paid and possibly not work on their skills. So, I mean, Tim, next question to you. So now we move from the recovery into the skills part, or the skills theme of this discussion. I think what Mirna have touched on is a very, very important element into how we look at this as an opportunity rather than as a challenge, which is, so the question says, 12 months ago, a branded personal development poll question from the University of Manchester was posed to several hundred business attendees of the Advisory Council online conference organized and hosted by EMIR, the Emerging Markets Intelligence and Research. The question was, given the current business environment, what skills traits you look for most in new talent? The attendees gave a very clear response, with 33% voting for creativity and innovation, number one. Number two, followed closely by adaptability, which we all agreed in the first part. Other choices included problem solving, leadership, emotional intelligence, collaboration, risk awareness, and IQ. So this was done 12 months ago. If I think about it, in current times, since the competition is higher, what do you feel about these soft skills, especially creativity and innovation? And is it true? Is this what you look for in new talents now?
Absolutely. And to be honest, I couldn't agree with those results more. I think Mirna picked up on some incredibly important points around how the softer skills need to be acknowledged in our future workforce. That ability to create, to be innovative, to learn, actually is going to be a skill in itself, you know, which is why I'm particularly passionate about being on a panel with this audience, you know, talking amongst MBA, either alumnus or current candidates. I think, you know, a firm and wise decision has been made to invest in your education, because ultimately, you know, one thing is for certain. Out of all this sea of uncertainty, one thing is for certain, and that is that markets will continue to be volatile. And the time it takes from developing a product to actually putting that product to market and realizing the value from that product is going to become shorter all the time. So organizations like ours, you know, the big corporate organizations, we're not only having to compete with smaller, more nimble, agile startups that can disrupt whole industries, you know, in a matter of months. We're also trying to then operate, you know, and to replicate that operational model within a large, you know, corporate entity, which is incredibly difficult. You know, we're looking at, you know, how we can scale an agile methodology in terms of opportunity identification, development, and go to market. And I have to be honest, you know, it's alien to a lot of our existing employees, you know, who are all used to employing a waterfall approach to value proposition development. You put something together based upon, you know, a very firm and clear scope. You then build it, you then put it in the market. Well, you know, we have to acknowledge, we have to admit amongst ourselves that those days are numbered, if not gone already. You know, we have to be really, really nimble. We really have to take a human-centered, client-centric approach to everything we do. We have to build things in increments. We need to test, we need to prototype, we need to employ design thinking methodologies to how we identify those opportunities. You know, we need to have a look at, you know, we need to identify the right problem to solve, not what we think the right problem is to solve, but actually going out to the market and engaging with our markets more. So we're able to get that product out into the market quicker than our competitors and quicker than those startups who probably have already thought of it. So with all of that, you know, requires a completely different mindset shift. Those individuals who are creative, those individuals who are prepared to invest in learning, you know, to continually, I mean, this is an overused word, and I said that I would never ever use it again in any panel discussion. I'm going to use it today anyway, is pivot. You know, those individuals who are prepared to pivot from market to market, from sector to sector, you know, all the while employing this new agile approach to value delivery are going to be those that thrive. And you know, that type of mindset, that type of behavior, you know, is then needs to be supported by, you know, a very almost a growth mindset, you know, very high emotional intelligence, as Myrna alluded to. Hard skills, I have to be honest, are going to be less important. Yes, we're seeing new hard skills being demanded by employers, agile project management, data scientists, all this kind of stuff. Those sort of skill sets that continue to proliferate within every industry. But I would say the more, you know, the skills that have greater longevity are going to be those ones that are reflected within you as a person, within your own brand. And I would urge every single person within this audience to have a think about what they stand for. You know, what is their personal message? You know, and Zaid was talking about those companies that will thrive will be the ones who have that higher sense of purpose and can really align with societal trends and market trends moving forward. If you can align with that, if you can be creative and you can be innovative about ideas and be prepared to work in a completely different working environment, I would say you're set up for success.
I think, Tim, you touched on a very, very, very important point here, which is hyper competition. The shortening time from, you know, from the idea is there all the way to market. And I always think that people think, oh, you know, everybody's replaceable. That's true. And it's always business, never personal. And if you don't develop yourself, and I don't know why you have this such feeling about pivot. I love the word pivot when it comes to change, because people kind of stick to their own comfort zone, and it's very difficult for them to change. Okay, I'm doing this now. what am I doing to, and I know that whatever I'm doing is dying because of obvious reasons. And I know that within, let's say, 12 months, it's going to die. What am I going to do about it? Right? And it's a choice. It's a choice you make today to reap in 12 months. So I couldn't agree more. Iman, if you think about it and everything that Tim said about soft skills versus hard skills, in LinkedIn in 2021, there was a survey that yielded the 5 top hard skills, which is software development, project management, data analysis, digital marketing, and product management. So those are the 5 top hard skills. But conversely, according to Ladders, the top 5 soft skills are for 2021 include active listening, adaptability, communication, emotional intelligence, innovation, teamwork, and work ethic. So how do you train or otherwise develop those kinds of skills? And if I'm limited in time, do I focus more on the soft skills or the hard skills? And what's your thought about that?
Well, here comes the dilemma if I'm limited in time, which is buy versus make. So some companies would go for just buying people who are ready, and that makes it even harder for candidates all over the world, because as I just said, it's very easy to onboard or hire people anywhere, and they can work for you, but mostly for soft skills. Some of the hard skills like the IT development or the software development skills can also be done offshore. So back to your question, companies, especially during the crisis, they tend to cut down on the learning and development mistakenly. They think that this is one of the overhead costs that we don't need right now. But on the contrary, depends on the company policy itself, not policy, I mean the strategy, the people strategy, whether they want to actually invest in your team and upskill them or reskill them to retain them for a long time. Are you investing in them, or are you just outsourcing what you need for the short time as soon as you're limited? So I see companies who are very wise, without mentioning names, doing both, doing a hybrid model of that. So they tended, while they are reskilling and upskilling their teams, their existing teams, they tend also on the shorter term to outsource whatever they need of skills, hard skills or so.
I think, Iman, we lost you.
Oh, sorry, I was okay.
Yeah.
Well, I talked a lot. So.
No. Just literally just the last 5 seconds.
Just the last 5 seconds. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So as I said, again, boils down to what's the company. What's the company's strategies? What's the company people's strategy? Would you like to invest in your team? Are you tending to have a long-term strategy? So on the longer term, they tend to slightly invest in reskilling and upskilling their existing teams. And for the short term, they outsource whatever skills they need. And some companies, unfortunately, they don't do that, also without mentioning names, though, so they tend to immediately cut costs and go for the ready calibers out in the market and get whatever they want to get on the spot, regardless of their people. That's how I think, and I agree with the 2 surveys actually that are the 5 top skills, hard skills and soft skills. But I would prioritize the work ethics, because at the time of pandemic where nobody's seeing anybody and it's only deliverables that governs the relationship between the employee and the employer. So I would see that work ethics would be prioritized as a skill number 1 in the market, because we have discovered a lot during that crisis, unfortunately.
I'm sorry, I wasn't actively listening.
No worries.
So, so no,
You know-
the idea here is, and I agree with you on the soft skills that are more important to develop. But what I think we could, I could disagree with you on one, not disagree, kind of argue with you on at this time, which one should, it's the egg and the chicken. Is it the company that should train their employees, or should the employees work on their own skills and train themselves? I think it's in my opinion, it's a mix of both. But at this time and age, it's more on the employees, because the companies, it's business to them. To them, if they find someone who worked on themselves and developed their skills, whether it's hard or soft skill, but a skill they need, they will keep that individual. Now, I agree with you. The best is for both to work on that. But in my opinion, and I have a YouTube channel that I release weekly videos, and that's a shameless plug. But go and subscribe to my YouTube channel. But what I'm trying to say is, in almost every video, I try to mention that it's a choice. It's a choice for everyone to open up the internet, just subscribe to a channel or two, or go to a Skillshare and freely develop their own skills. Mostly soft skills that can be developed free of charge, but also hard skills.
I think Tim
No,
has, sorry to cut you,
yeah,
but
go ahead.
I think Tim has mentioned this as one of the top skills that is required right now. People who are able to develop themselves and willing actually to continue learning during
Pivot. The
during
word he
those
said
hard
is
times.
pivot. Yes,
Pivot,
and
exactly.
I
And pivoting is also
I'm gonna
pivoting
haunt you,
also
Tim.
is a good skill. Yeah, exactly.
No, it's Tim, to your point, it's now's the time. So if I'm in an industry, so I have released an article a few days back. I titled it as the horse's carriage. If your industry is similar to the horse's carriage back in the early 1900s, and you think that, what, I'm going to develop better products, or I'm going to develop better skills within this dying industry, and you think it's going to survive, think again. Because back in the days, history will always repeat itself, and you will be left out, like those who are, kept on thinking that the horse's carriage will survive. Now, moving on to the next theme. So we finished the first one as the recovery. The second is skills. The last theme is diversity and development. And Mirna, I'll ask this question to you. How do you think the pandemic have treated women and generally diversity, but specifically women in business?
Before I answer that, I have to tell you, Iman, I love your lipstick. Team.
Thank you.
Sam, you are in the right industry. I mean, you're a public speaker, and that's where I don't see you anywhere else. And
Positive
actually, the
reinforcement.
reason
Thank you very much.
I'm looking at whoever is speaking, and I'm like, I have to say this, and that's a skill that the pandemic taught me, because we had a lot of fear element in the group. One word, it's kind of like tapping people in the back, boosting their energy. I learned to compliment on daily basis, to just boost the motivation so that people can be more productive. So going back to your question, diversity, how I looked at the pandemic, it was mainly looking into the skill set, especially the soft skills, more into looking to diversity. Diversity has been there already. So we weren't focusing on that during the pandemic, because wasn't the priority. The priority was looking into who can get things running, and who is, as I mentioned it earlier, not only emotionally intelligent, adaptable in a sense that I can do it. They have the can-do attitude. We were looking into that attitude across. So whether it's a female, whether it's a male, wasn't, to be frank, during the pandemic, the priority or that we were looking at. It wasn't, but it's been there always, whether it's we were always looking into the variety in the nationalities, to have this cosmopolitan and multicultural team, the balance between the ratios, male and female. But during the pandemic itself, I'm not gonna be like, hey, I'm losing here and I'm looking whether I should recruit a female or a male. So that wasn't, frankly.
I think Mirna, the question came because of how especially schools were closed down and people had to look after their kids, and mostly this fell under the female part of the household. And some companies, wrongfully, for sure, took a decision of, what, we're going to recruit someone who's not going to be impacted by that severely and therefore impacting us. But you don't think that this has, you didn't
No,
see that in your,
not
sorry.
at all, not
That's
at all.
nice.
I mean, this
Okay.
wasn't any coming, when you look into we were focusing on whether we're getting the right talent who was like, has the, can fit the role, not only on the technical skills, but also on the soft skills. So gender wasn't the thing that we were focusing on that time.
That's nice.
Can I
Zaid,
speak from experience?
of course.
All right. So what happened during that time when we were working from home? So it was a lockdown, right? And kids are working from home or studying from home, attending all the classes online, and me also working from home, right? They needed a lot of support when it comes to, mommy, we want to log in, mommy, we want to do this or that, right? And I have to also fulfill my job requirements. So I have meetings back to back all the day. Actually, we ended up working longer hours and sometimes up to 16, 18 hours a day nonstop. So let me tell you, that affected us a lot. We had to stretch really thin to attend to all that what's required. So I see it was very unfair to women, honestly. I know some women who actually quit their jobs during the time because it was very, very hard to have that balance going on. Because they either needed extra support or they didn't have, enough facilities or whatever set up. So they just couldn't cope with it and they just quit their jobs. So yes, it affected, unfortunately, it affected women.
Weird enough, in my case, it was kind of the opposite. We had men nagging more about like, my kids are here, I'm distracted, because they're not much used into multitasking as women, especially working women. Like we're used to it, while men, they're not used to it. They're like, oh, I hear noise behind me, so they were so focused on the distraction happening. So we got a lot of complaints from men versus the female, to be honest.
That's where adaptability comes. He needs
adaptability and stamina, exactly. So it's nice to hear that at least from the corporate side there wasn't this biased choice when it comes to recruitment, and I think even in my circles, I can speak about my circles, I've never felt it. My colleagues, the females, were stressed and stretched thin, as Iman said, but from a recruitment perspective, we hired female colleagues of ours, and it was never part of the even subliminal or let's say subconscious decision making that we need to hire a male over female. So that's good, and that's a human thing to feel about. Zaid, we'll move ahead to the other impact, not just diversity but pay scale. It's a sensitive one, but how do you think this has impacted the pay scale? I know we had salary cuts, but then those were temporary. Do you think that generally the value of certain skill sets were brought down? And what do you think people who are in that position should do to go back to their old pay scale?
Well, I can certainly talk about my industry. Remuneration in general is a function of personal contribution, team contribution, business development activity, and actually and a few other things. It is a sensitive topic, and it's always something that ends up people have views about it, positive or otherwise. I think it relates to the point that was made earlier about continually developing yourself, making sure you're valuable to the firm. developing your portfolio of skills, and letting your employer know what you've done in that regards. And the way that that's often manifested is by volunteering to do additional projects, getting involved in different initiatives that showcase your newly found skills, and generally trying to be proactive. We talked about, the key skills post-pandemic. From my perspective, being proactive and looking at ways of utilizing your new skills. So developing yourself is one thing, but actually, now that you've invested time in developing these skills, then how do you best leverage them? And that's really critical. Otherwise, you're not going to fully realize the value of your investment. And if you do all of that, then hopefully at the year end, that should be reflected, at least try to be reflected in the remuneration that is really commensurate with your overall contribution for the year. And if that isn't the case, then perhaps you should be talking to other employers, if I can put it like that. In terms of the people who have seen an impact on their pay, I think really it's beholden to them to really try and find a different way to provide value. I mean, why you have to look at why you're being paid at the end of the day. You're being paid because you provide value to the firm, because they can sell you out or sell the products and services that you make. And if the perceived value is reduced in the market, then you need to find a way of either getting involved in activities that create more value, or you yourself have to find a way to create more value. And the specifics of that obviously will depend on the industry, the sector you're involved with, and so forth. So remuneration will follow. It almost invariably does. It should be, as I said, really something that is reflective of what you bring to the table.
I love the way you put it, Zaid. I love it because it's really people, so there are two camps. There's the first camp that says, you know what, I need to depend on my company, my employer. I need to depend on my government to provide things for me. I need to, to depend on my parents, whatever it is. And then the other ones that believe in the value exchange that we live in day out. So you provide value, you get compensation for this value. And this value is in the eye of the beholder. It's not in your eye, it's in the eye of your employer. If your employer at a certain point in time feels, or the market at large, had that value reduced, naturally the compensation will reduce. And that's how life is. It's always business. And your employer is not here to sustain you for life or make you rich. They're there to make themselves rich, and they're paying you for it. It's your job to acquire new skills and work on it. But between what you said and what Iman said, the long hours, the family, during the pandemic, and what you're saying, Zaid, on you need to develop yourself, make sure that you're able to acquire new skills and maintain this never slow down growth mode. Tim, I'll ask this question to you. If that is the case, then really it's what's up with burnout? What's up with work-life balance? What's up with trying to have a drink at night every once in a while? What do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting and important question, actually. I think what a big shift towards remote working has done is it's blurred the lines between work and your home life, right? You're doing work at home. So it's very difficult to turn off the computer at the end of the day. Because normally you clock off 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, whatever, from the office. You get in the car, you can turn off, and then you're back in the office the next day. Remote working has put an end to all of that. So I think, two things that are important in my mind. One, you have to be disciplined as an individual to be able to know when to stop, right?
Amen.
First thing. And I know, that's easily said, less easy to do, but something that we should all get better at, I think, in practice. But the second thing is around how can the organization support you at a time when, it's been a test of every single person's mental strength, a lot of us are expats in the Middle East. A lot of us have been separated from our families. That includes me. I've got a very, I've been exposed to that personally, which has been incredibly tough. So you're trying to deal with that as well as your work life. I can't speak for other businesses or industries, but the organisation that I work for at Arcadis, they've really thrown a light actually on mental well-being and the importance of being able to reflect internally, but also the ability to hold your hand up and be prepared to come forward and say that you're struggling, and that's okay. I think the world of traditional business hasn't been particularly good at driving that behaviour, if I'm honest, and is something that we should really embrace as organisations if we are genuinely to become more resilient and sustainable moving forward. We have toolbox talks. We've invited in individuals from other sectors. We even had the British bobsledder. No, it wasn't bobsledder. It was the lady who went down on a tea tray, 100 miles an hour. She was telling her own story around career resilience and mental strength, and how we could apply some of those anecdotes to our daily lives. You may think on the face of it, there's a big separation between her story and what we're all going through at the moment, but actually fundamentally, they're very similar issues. So I think, we have to take mental well-being seriously. That's the bottom line. If we expect our employees not only to work in a different environment, but also to work within a different operating model, we invest in themselves and individuals to help that organization transition and transform. That's a lot of pressure on an individual. Throw in, the other layer of complexities around the pandemic, and you've got actually a melting pot that can be very, very destructive to an individual. So it's time for all organizations to wake up, take it seriously, to put it on, the top of the agenda, and really, support us all. It's a collective support, really. Hashtag in this together, aren't we?
That's true.
So yeah,
that's true. That's true. I think, Tim, you hit the nail on its head. It's really a collaborative work, and all of us here are either employees or employers at certain levels. If we don't take care of ourselves, the companies are made up from people, and if we bring back the human element in organizations and companies and corporates, we'll be able to sustain better. And you hear these beautiful stories from multinationals such as Google and Facebook and others, where they have these beautiful initiatives that you feel like, but it's costing them money. But that's the point. It's not always about money. It's about mental health. And if your employees are happy, you will attract better skill sets. You will have people that work for you and want to work harder for you, and you will win. And that's the key. It's not always on the individual. It's sometimes on the organization, which is key. It's so I think
just to add to that, we haven't gone into ESG, but ESG is the new buzzword, and I think unfortunately there's been too much of a focus on the E and the S, less about the G. I think governance is responsible, or the governance within an organization is responsible for harboring happy employees. And that's something, if we're going to generally take a look at our businesses through the lens of ESG moving forward, that's where it needs to fall.
That's well said. I think I couldn't agree more. Last question. What is the single most important thing that you would advise? And this question is for each and every one of you. And I'll give you 1 minute to answer, very short and brief. What is the single most important thing that you would advise job candidates to do? So if someone is, you're coaching someone today and he's going for a job interview tomorrow, what is the single most important thing that they should do to be noticed by recruiters? And I'll start with Iman.
Why Iranian? All right.
Ladies first. So it's either you or Mirna, and you're on my left side.
I'm just joking. It's fine. So I think, in my opinion, there's a lot to be done. It's not just a single thing. But I'm not gonna go around the place, so or all over the place. So I think the word would be prepared. So you have to come in prepared with everything. prepared mentally, emotionally, prepared with information, ready to answer the questions. If it's not a good time for you, just postpone or cancel the interview. So you have to come in ready and prepared to sit in front of an interviewer and properly present yourself. This is what I would advise the candidates. So
that's the best
one
advice. I
word.
think preparation and commitment is something that I think everybody agrees on. Mirna, what do you feel about that?
I can't agree more with Iman, but what struck me throughout the discussion is the mental well-being and the self-development. And I always tell my team and also my candidate who come back to me and ask me, what did I do wrong? Recruiters don't look into what you say. They look into what you don't say. So no matter how, I agree with Iman, you need to come prepared, absolutely. But also not only prepared on what you're saying, prepared on what you're not saying. And that is into your whole body language, if we can say. There are many times I have amazing candidates, they're ticking all the boxes. But we have currently an element which we cannot ignore is there is like a desperation in the market due to what happens. Like people are desperate to have income. They're driven by income necessity at the moment. So which is dominating, and it's no matter how candidates are like trying, it's still showing on their body language.
That's true.
So I recall when I applied for Emirates Airlines back then, I literally stood in front of, and I'm not telling you to go and do the same, but do something that will help you out. I stood in front of the mirror to get rid of what is stressing me, to get rid of all the frustration inside me, to have that attitude of I'm going and getting it. You have all the skill set needed. It's just like, you need to, put that makeup on, even if you're not feeling it, but it's fake it till you make it. Everyone can fake it till they make it. So I tell them always to be aware of what they're not saying. I'm not sure if I transmitted.
No, that's perfectly well said. I don't think I'll find a makeup that matches my beard, but it's.
No, I mean makeup in the.
I understand. Zaid, what do you feel about that?
Yeah,
I agree.
I read something very interesting. Sorry, that you can't teach people how to smile. And when you're going to the interview, for example, currently in the time being, I'm really looking for people with positive energy, can-do-it energy, flexible, adaptable. And I have the candidate in front of me for 1 hour, is not smiling a single second. I will start having my doubt, because this is a skill that cannot be taught. I cannot teach you how to smile. It's either it's in you or not. So just to be adding on, so this is what it's really the emotional part or the body language part, which no matter how skilled and soft skill and technical skill and PhDs and, it's again,
the interpersonal and how you communicate.
Intelligence part.
Yeah. Authenticity. Zaid, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, two things. Number one, do your homework. I can't tell you the number of times I've interviewed candidates who've come in, they didn't know anything about the company or the role or the department. You're going to get rejected at the first stage, so don't even bother if you haven't done your homework. The second thing is know your values. If you're applying for a company that is, values or has a high performance culture where working late nights, weekends is the norm, and that's not in line with your values, perhaps you shouldn't be applying to that company. So you need to do like some thought. You need to give your values some thought. You need to understand what's important to you, and try and find companies that resonate with you, because different companies would suit people, not just the technical skills, but also in terms of working style, values, and so forth. And if you haven't done the requisite preparation, then just what can I say? Just be prepared to fail and fail again. It's that simple. The scattergun approach just doesn't work. You know,
Yeah.
you do need surgical precision. You need to understand what it is that you're applying to, who you know, I'll give you another example. I work in the M&A sector, and I had one candidate, even for a very junior role. What he did is that he bought a copy of the FT the day before, and he went to the companies and markets section, and he read about some deals that we were involved with, and he asked me about it. You know, I mean, that's an example of being proactive. You know, just thinking about, you know, what kind of things would potentially interest an employer, and trying to come up with innovative ways. It says a lot of things.
Did you hire the guy? Did you end up hiring the guy?
No, I think he failed the later round of interviews, unfortunately. But I appreciated the initiative.
No, I think that's it. You see, the thing is, I think what we heard here is now authenticity, being yourself, working hard, and doing your homework.
Yeah.
Tim, last but most definitely not least, what's the single thing that you feel you could agree with everything and then let it go, but I'm sure you have something else?
I think it's about, you know, understanding what your elevator pitch is, and
Nice.
and an entrepreneurial look, or taking an entrepreneurial stance at, you know, potentially, you know, getting a position within your employer. I don't know how many of you watch Dragon's Den, you know, when these nervous entrepreneurs go in shaking with a product and try and sell it, you know, to the three dragons for oodles of cash. But, you know, put yourself as the product. What value can you give to those investors? And the investors are your future employee. You know, to speak to Zaid's point, what are your values? You know, what excites you? You know, what gets you out of bed in the morning? Bring yourself to that interview. Don't look back and go, well, I've been this for so many years and I did that. You know, I think employers are going to, you know, take less notice of that now, especially as new skill sets and new propositions and new digital enabled products and transformations, you know, become the norm. And also point towards, you know, not only what you stand for, but also what the skills that you expect to learn in the future and how those will then become valuable to that organization. You know, understand the broader context of business and industry and where it's heading, where it can be disrupted, where it can change, spot those opportunities, make the statement, actually, I have an expectation as an individual that I will acquire those skills in order to benefit you as an organization. Are we aligned? And I think the response to that, it's that type of statement, I think will be very telling as to whether that employer wants to employ you, but whether, more importantly, you want to work for them.
I think that we all agree on these points. And you know, if I could summarize the last point, you know, Stephen Covey, the late Stephen Covey, the author of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he have a short video that shows, you know, he picks a random person from his audience and asks him to do 25 push-ups. Now, the person obviously tries to do 10 or 15, but then he fails. And no matter how much he tries, he won't be able to. And the key takeaway is, if you're prepared, if you're someone who spent a lifelong journey of learning and growth and just trying to personally and professionally develop yourself, if you don't do that, there is no way on earth you'll be able to do 25 push-ups in one go at the same day. We have to respect time, and time will have, you know, time and effort go hand in hand. And this is the thing that I think I would leave you all with. So there you have it. Go ahead and speak to Heba and the Manchester team to book your seat in the next academic year if you want to maintain your jobs and advance your career. But this is it for us. I'd like to thank our esteemed panelists, myself, Osama as well. I have a YouTube channel, really, subscribe. But the key takeaway here is it's all about both. So when I did my MBA, there was one topic that I remember. I don't know how many people are now doing their MBAs at Manchester. Can I see by show of hands? Five out of 85, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so there's one subject, one topic that I remember very well, and I did my MBA probably 10 years ago or a bit less. It was personal and professional development. You know, I looked down at this topic and it's like, you know what, this is not accounting or finance or HR, it's just personal and professional development. I can watch a couple of YouTube videos and learn about it. But seriously, when I went through that course through my team and had our group project, it was enlightening in a way that I couldn't even describe. And really, it shaped who I am by dealing with people, the group dynamics, by dealing with myself, my own personal development. So, Heba, thank you very much for the opportunity, and for our esteemed members of esteemed. Yeah, back to you.
And Mirna, Zaid, Tim, of course, thank you all. I will recap on these, but before we move to the next session, and I'm quite conscious about the time because we're late. So before we move to the next session, I'd like to open the floor to Q&A. So if you have any questions to the panel speakers, we could take them now. We'll just allocate 5 minutes for the Q&A. So any questions? Yes, we have a question. Could I invite you to come in? Introduce yourself and speak.
Yeah, hello, good morning. My name is Sarah Boagela, and I have a question to all panelists. So how did the company culture has changed during the pandemic in terms of flexible working? If it has changed, how do you implement it right now or for the future?
So flexible working, how is that now? I know that a lot of the corporates have implemented flexible working during the pandemic, and some of you might have gone back to normal working. How is that for you now? Who would like to answer this?
Okay, so we started first actually as alternating teams when the crisis started, where we thought there actually was not a lockdown. So we started to decrease the capacity of the of people working in the office just to maintain the social distances, etc. And then we went through the complete lockdown where everybody was working from home. And but that time we started actually thinking of why not to introduce the new policy of people actually working from home if they want to. Because we found a lot of efficiency actually when we did that. We discovered that our team is very agile, very efficient and very flexible, and we can do things. We can do even more things when we are at home and focus more rather than being in the office and just people dashing in here or there. So we have actually introduced a permanent policy for working from home. For example, working mothers, for mothers who have kids at a certain age, of course, with the necessary approvals, but yes, that was introduced actually into ADQ policy, and it was approved that this is a long-term kind of thing, not just to something that we responded only during the pandemic, but this is more of a permanent policy.
Zaid and Kim?
I think what it's taught a lot actually is to become more focused on an employee's output as opposed to just paying people to turn up. And what is empower actually employees to take responsibility for that output, right? I know that sounds a little bit strange, but I think in order to make it stick, there needs to be some kind of hybrid model. I think I don't see a future where you've got, you know, a hive of workers all working in their own homes every day of the week. You know, from a lot of conversations from my peers within my organization, I think the preference would be a hybrid model where you work 2 or 3 days at home, but then you also have the option to go into the office and use that office more as a collaborative space. So you can have those water cooler chats and interaction with your other workers that you wouldn't ordinarily get over a Teams call or working from home. I think, you know, that's probably in my mind what the sustainable option is going to be moving forward. But I think, you know, unfortunately, there's an elephant in the room here that needs to be addressed, and that is trust. You know, an organization has to trust its employees in order to, you know, motivate a workforce. if an organization doesn't have trust, there'll be an automatic gravitation of those employees back into the office, and we'll just go back into the the work practices that we were used to before, which in my mind are not set up for the next generation of workplace. So yeah, striking the right balance, enabling individuals to take responsibility for their own outputs, becoming more output focused as opposed to just paying an employee to turn up, enabling offices to be more collaborative in how they're set up. So you have that option of going in, meeting people, not necessarily sitting at a desk, and being an organization that learns to trust all of its employees.
It's on our organizations to have that trust, to ensure it, to transfer it to their employees. I'm conscious of also the time, so let's take some questions from the audience and also from those online.
I think there's a question from Sarah on the chat. It says, how to let companies trust us if it is difficult for the management culture to trust easily the employees?
Really important.
Important point. I think it goes back to Zaid's point where you align your values to your company's values. Now, I don't know, Zaid, what do you want to say about that?
Yeah, I think it's really important for management to understand and trust their employees, but by the same token, you do need measures to assess employee productivity and take corrective action where that productivity falls below a certain threshold. That is important, because at the end of the day, businesses are here to make money. Let's be clear about that. I think the general point about remote working and flexibility is that, clients, at least our client base, are, accepting of us working remotely. There are cases where it just doesn't work. So where you're potentially negotiating a contract, or you need to have a workshop with senior executives, then a conference call is, in my view at least, marginally effective at best. But for the most part, a lot of the processing, a lot of the analysis, if you're writing a report, a lot of that can be done away from a client premises. But it is about trust. It's about making sure also employees have access to all of the tools they need to be productive. So when you're not working physically in a team, you do miss that sort of team dynamic. And I don't really think conference call really replaces that. So you need to make sure that an employee still has that sense of inclusion in a team, if it's a virtual team, and he or she has access to the requisite tools they need to do their job properly.
Osama, can we take questions from Nargis? We see some raised hands in the last couple of minutes.
Sorry, I didn't get that, Heba.
We see some raised hands from.
Yes, there's a comment here from Saad Hasiba. It says, I think it is important to set expectations and have a common understanding between management and employees. I think the very good point here, Saad. Edgar Schein, the father of corporate culture, he always refers to culture and leadership as two faces for the same coin. So really, and back to Zaid's point and Tim, if you don't have trust, this is a trait, this is an assumption, a value that's hidden and ingrained deep in the leader, which trickles down. Now, there's little that you can do as an employee, apart from respecting the laws of the land and doing your job as it's supposed to be, and trying to be as with the governance of the organization as possible. But if you don't align, then you might want to leave. I see Tariq Fawzi raising his hand. Tariq, do you want to ask a question? Tariq Fawzi, I don't know if you still raised your hand from the time where. Okay, I think we don't have any questions.
We have Hussam here, so he will ask his question and perhaps you can end with it.
Hi, good morning all. My name is Hussam. My question is for Myrna. In absence of physical or in the absence of being in your team, with your team on daily basis, I feel that your presence is essential to learn from the other colleagues and to have this knowledge transfer. The question is, when you hire someone new to your organization, what you will be focusing on? This person can learn by himself or he can blend in the team and learn from them.
Mirna, I think this is a question for you.
Thank you for choosing me, but I was curious why you chose me. But to answer your question is, onboarding is definitely important. Like you cannot bring someone on board and you expect them to just mingle with everyone and get along with everyone without setting expectations, without doing the proper onboarding and set them for success. So we don't just hire someone and like, hey, go and do your job. Absolutely not. It's a mutual work from the talent acquisition team as well as with the candidate as well. So we have a proper onboarding to set them on the right, to understand the culture, to understand to be with the team, understand the expectations and so on. You cannot absolutely bring someone on board and like, hey, go ahead and meet the KPIs and the targets. Of course, you have to, it's give and take relationship.
Thank you, Mirna. Thank you, everyone. I'm so sorry that we have to move to the next part of the session. And audience, we can assure you that you can join the rooms that our speakers will be in to ask them more questions. And now this is time for networking with corporate representatives in company-specific breakout rooms. Now, in this part of the session, what will happen is that we are going to allocate of your choice to start networking with. Now, once you have finished networking within this corporate, please ensure that your microphones are on mute.
Once she's done talking, you can enable your microphone and speak.
Yeah, just stay on mute. So again, to recap, to start networking with, this will be the first room that you will join. After you have done network with the corporate representative, you may be excused. You will go back, you will leave the room, go back to the main room and request the host, Helen, to assign you to the other room of your choice. So you will start with the first room. Once you finish, you will go back to the main room. You will ask to be assigned to the next room. And once you're done with the next room, you can also exit and go back to the main room to be asked to be assigned to the other room of your choice. Now, bearing this in mind, please, I'd like to ask you all to be patient because there's 85 of you online. There's only one Helen, so this might take some time to allocate you to. Now, I would like to welcome all the corporates, and I'm really sorry that we kept you waiting, but this is very interesting conversation. So again, welcome to Iman Al-Abid, Tim Shelton, Fiona Richardson, who's the talent acquisition lead at Cigna Insurance Middle East and Africa, Mu'taz Hassan, head of operations Middle East and North Africa at Continental Middle East. I would like to welcome also Zaid Sakat, Operational and Commercial Advisory at Deloitte, Hamda Al-Najjar, Talent Acquisition Specialist at General Motors. I would like to welcome HKA Consulting and Advisory Team. So warm welcome to Jad Truman, Partner and Head of Middle East at HKA, and Tariq Shawwa, Managing Consultant at HKA. From HSBC team, I would like to welcome Sheena Gangadaran, Head of International Banking Team, International Subsidiary, also Senior Account Manager, Education Sector, Wealth and Personal Banking, Gigi Abraham, Corporate Relationship Manager, International Subsidiary Banking. Also, warm welcome to Inspire team. Inspire is a leading recruiting agency, and they will be hosting 2 rooms. The first room, we will welcome Louise Vine, who's the Managing Director and specialized in finance and accounting, and Elaine Hardman, who is a recruitment manager specialized focusing on higher education and strategy. Also, Karen Gill, recruitment manager, media affairs and marketing. Room 2 will host Carolyn Ross, recruitment manager, digital sales and marketing, and Alexandra Scholz, focusing on construction and sustainability. From Schindler, I would like to welcome the team: Pankaj Sinha, Executive Director, MENA Region; Renier Giovanni Tayao, HR Director, MENA Region; Sujitra, sorry, the screen is off. Apologies. So we'll continue. We will welcome, let's go back to Schindler team. Pankaj Sinha, Executive Director, MENA Region; Renier Giovanni Tayao, HR Director, MENA Region; Sujitra Kopala Krishnan, HR Head, UAE and Doha; and Megan D'Souza, Talent and Development Europe. From Schneider Electric, I'd like to welcome Mohammed Al-Badawi, HR Business Partner for the Gulf Region, and Amira Amir, Talent Acquisition Business Partner. A warm welcome to our alumni, also Sean Oliver McSherry, Director of Talent Acquisition, the first group; Sheetal Wabi, Senior HR Partner at Train Technologies, and Azzuddin Hussain, Manager Solution Engineering at VMware. Last but not least, Osama and Nouri will be hosting a room discussing career development and how to get employed and how to become more employable in the future. So now we will start the process of allocating you to your rooms. For those in the room, make sure that you are logged in via Zoom so that you are allocated. Hi. And happy networking, everyone.
On the Excel sheet, when you send the Excel, everything's on one sheet. It needs to NPV, this, this kind of do that. So that you have them. But the only thing we should agree on the slide deck first, so that because that's what we want. That's everything.
Hi, Hiba, am I able to get you, as I can see you're there in the participants? Sure.
Hiba, I think I got a request for GM, even though this is not GE, even though this is not the room I requested or useful related to me.
Hi, Hiba, can you send me back to the breakout room?
Hiba, I think I got the wrong group request.
Hi, Heba, this is Vishnu here. I think I also got the wrong group, which was Signa Insurance. Could you please help me join any one of the LinkedIn, Jamal Majid GM, Abu Dhabi Holding? One of these, whichever is.
Hello. Hello. I don't think Hiba's in the class.
Helen, can you do it? Because it's not. What am I looking for? Hmm? Marco, yes, sorry.
How do I? So you have to do it.
We have Helen has to assign you actually. Make me back. I don't know which one you are. Go to the top. This one? That's you. And which one are you? This
Technology.
one? Yeah. No, make host. Yes. Okay. She's host now. See what happens. شو
I
صار
think
معك؟
there's a problem with the registration.
no,
Already
no,
I'm
the
registered.
person- Okay.
ضلوا يقول لي لما أفوت على
So
الزوم
you're with
ضلوا يقول لي you need to
first
register
group?
while I did already.
حطيت الميتنج اي دي؟
Yes.
Join. Please register.
Yeah.
Join this button.
And I already registered.
So you don't show in this room.
Excuse me, Hiba. Can I
Then
join
did you receive
Man
an
Mutama
invitation?
room?
جربي click here.
I did.
Out. You need to join. Have you joined into the copy the link below and paste it in Safari?
Are you joined into the session?
Because you should automatically have received the invitation to join. لأنك مش بالويتنج روم. خليني أفتحها. هلا أوكي open. Launch meeting.
Again, please register.
You registered?
Not muted.
Hello?
توني شو صار؟ طلعتوني من الغرفة تبعتي.
Me too.
Yeah, me too.
Chucked out of the room.
No, same here.
I think it was
This
limited
is-
with time, so when the time expired, all of
Ah.
us back again to.
That was
We're
super
all
limited.
removed.
Yeah.
The breakout rooms were closed.
Okay. So let's have a quick coffee cheers. Who still has his coffee?
Me, my second coffee.
I need to refill. I haven't been able to refill yet.
I already refilled.
Break for everyone?
Yeah, no, I think because we overran in the first session and the meeting was set up in a way, we will get you guys back in the rooms. Yeah, just give us a minute.
So guys, how do you find the session so far? The Manchester Careers event? Is it insightful?
Yeah, but
Actually, very insightful. You guys talked about so many things.
توني هتذبحني انت.
Hello.
Hello. Just can I ask, can you add me to Osama room? Hello. Hello.
I think they are in the main room. Hi, ladies.
Hello.
Can you hear me? Mirna, I see you're back. Iman, you haven't joined your assigned room.
I did. Abu
Yes,
Dhabi?
yes,
I did.
Iman did. Iman did join.
I already joined. Any other room that you want me to join?
We had people waiting for you, Iman, in the room. But hala, you are in the main room. In the Abu Dhabi, your room, Abu Dhabi room. But now you're all in the main room. You, Mirna, Punam.
Because
Right.
we finished our session, that's why we went back to the main room.
Okay,
We had people who
finished.
answered questions, and we asked more few
Right.
questions, but then we were all finished.
Okay, okay.
So is there other room that we're gonna be invited?
Do you want to join other rooms?
No, I mean, is there gonna be other room where are gonna be working more candidates?
We still have lots of requests for students to join rooms, so we're working on this currently. Once we get to Jum'a al-Majid, we will reassign you to your room with the visitors that want to visit you. So
Okay.
meanwhile, Helen is still working on assigning rooms.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
So Helen, when you assign to Jum'a al-Majid, add me back again, please, there, because I'm the co-host for Jum'a al-Majid.
Hello, Hiba.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. Is this Tariq?
No, this is Ahmed Al-Zumar.
Hello, Ahmed. Thank you
Hi.
for joining.
Tariq is here.
Hi, Tariq. Yes, I see you also. I see you're
Oh,
all
okay.
here. So we can network here. I mean, we have with us we have Muhammad Rishdi. He's a specialist in fintech, and he has his own company, Fintech Bazaar. Muhammad, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. How are you guys? Can you hear
Hi,
me?
Mohammed. How are you?
Hi,
Yes,
Mohammed. We can
very
hear you.
clearly.
All okay, alhamdulillah. It's great to have everybody here. I think we have next Thursday a very interesting webinar with the university about fintech. So we please you will be great to have you as well. I think it's very interesting what we've been hearing as well. You know, people are talking about, you know, everything become digital, if you notice. So even Schneider right now would think, okay, we run a digital company in, you know, in maybe manufacturing company. So I think nowadays the digital, what you can do, digital skills is very important. I think we're gonna for an era as well, which is changing a lot, and then we have to all adapt to the change. Even myself, last 5-6 years, I'm working in fintechs and innovation and so on, because things are changing. So I believe we all have to be equipped with the change. And you know, things, as people saying, you know, like you can see RBA, AI, and whatever, they take a big role, but it doesn't mean that people role will vanish, but it has to change. So people has to also to pivot or start, you know, looking at other opportunities, enhance their skills and so on. So if you have something about fintech innovation, I'm happy to answer you as well.
Hi, Muhammad. How are you?
أهلا بيكي.
This is Naveen Abu Snina. Basically, I've
Hi,
joined
Naveen.
Manchester University. Hi. I've joined actually Manchester University for the same reason that you are mentioning now. After COVID-19, we have actually discovered that the new norms in general in business actually is the digitalization. I'm coming from banking sector. I have 15 years experience in this actually field. So
Okay.
I've actually noticed that we need actually to work more in digital transformation and banking sector, and this is basically the field that I am interested in to know more about it, fintech basically. So would love to hear more.
You know, fintech now we can see now. I was just to let you know, very interesting. Yesterday I was fintech hive in Dubai, and they were walking really among the companies. There's a very nice place like a mall. The second floor is all the innovative companies. Many of these, and you're gonna see it's like lots of vibes. Very young people are sitting working, and these guys are changing the whole landscape. What we're doing today. Atom, for example, there's a company which was announced recently. You can do all your transfer internally with WhatsApp. You can even split some other companies. You can split invoices between you and your friends. So I used to tell people in many keynote speeches, the bank branch today is not a branch, is your mobile. So mobile become everything today. And even today, you might forget your wallet when you are going outside home, but if you forget your mobile, then some issue, you feel there's something wrong, because everything mobility become, a necessity today. Banks are going into major transformation. You wouldn't really, I'm surprised if someone at a bank asking you to go and visit. It's still happening, but this will not happen anymore. You have all of these, we call new banks or challenger banks, digital banks. All of this really are taking over. So you have 4 banks are being launched in UAE. The latest one, Zand, here in Dubai by Al-Abbar. You have ADQ, which is, I think, Iman from ADQ. They have as well the digital bank in Abu Dhabi, ADQ Digital Bank. And then Al-Maraya in Abu Dhabi is another bank coming here as well in Dubai. So you have 4 digital banks coming really, in the country. Al-Hilal Bank, I used to be the same for Hilal Bank as well. Now they are doing full digital bank. So it's going to be 100% digital during the year. They are going in stages. So I think the landscape of financial services are changing. So it's great you are doing that. And I think we all have to learn and understand, what's required. So what's required nowadays, development, even in the hard skills, development team, which can do this kind of apps are required, AI, big data, and all of this is a new norm, really, as you say.
I just want to mention that we have some of the candidates who wish to speak to some of the employers, like Carolina. She wishes to have some questions to Iman. So please feel free to unmute yourself and direct the questions. We are back in the main room. So Carolina, can you hear me?
Yes, hi.
Hi, so if you have any questions, Iman is with us here, you could ask her. And we also have Mirna, we also have other participants, Mohammed Rijdi for FinTech, so please feel free to network here.
Okay, so good morning. Hi. I'm sorry, I just joined actually to this room, so I'm not sure where the direction of the topic was, but I had a question previously when you had the panel discussion with Osama. Now, he asked the last question, which is very important, about the interview. And my question is actually 1 or 2 steps before that. Considering the pandemic and the new norms and the adaptation that the company are doing, in terms of applying for productive way of applying for jobs, what will be the tricks at your organization, in your view, considering that I'm talking about myself, considering that having, great career path, good skills, soft skills, hard skills, but because I took a gap for maternity leave, and now I'm looking back, I just want to know what are the newest ways to apply for a job, because LinkedIn, like whenever there is a job post, there's like over 1,000 applicants. So yeah, maybe from your experience, for everybody, female or male, but especially moms coming back to more senior roles, what will be the tricks you would advise for?
Well, I do feel for you, because I had the gap also after my 2 kids. So, but actually what really helped me a lot after my second child, I actually I opted for Manchester program for MBA. And surprisingly, not surprisingly, of course, I knew this is going to boost my career, but that was one of my best life experiences. It helped me a lot on the personal skill side, and on, of course, the knowledge and learning side. I was just mentioning in my private room that it helped also a lot on the networking side. So I have built a very big network. I had friends now, or I have friends now all over the world, and in the biggest companies, and the best brands worldwide. Who we are still till now exchanging knowledge, exchanging experience, exchanging connections again, and whatever we need, we keep supporting each other's. The program was life-changing to me, to be honest, and maybe the reason why I am now the head of human capital in Abu Dhabi, next big thing, as they say, is because of my MBA. I used to work on a very operational level before, so I was very hands-on. I was that person who can go and get things, the go-getter, the one who make things happen, right? This was too operational. But actually, for me to understand and to work at more strategic level and become that, advisor to the executive management, or even being part of the executive management, I had to understand what is happening outside in the world. I need to understand business. I was done with all HR tips and tricks, like 10 years, for example, in my career, my first 10 years. And then I had to understand the business itself. So I can utilize all the HR technicalities and knowledge and hands-on experience to become really useful for the business, to become a real business partner. That's what happened. Business knowledge is one of the most important things that helped me. I got it through my MBA program. Understanding what is happening in the world, understanding what are the new business trends, how to think, how companies make profit, how can I be part of making that profit, not just being a support function, because HR people always see it as an overhead or support function, but no, that's not true. You can actually be a profit generator to the company in many ways, and it would have been impossible for me actually to position myself as a real profit generator element in the company without understanding what is happening in the world, without understanding the real business, without actually studying venture capital, for example, or understanding or studying strategy. On the soft skills side, I had the most interesting course in my life in negotiation skills, for example. Yeah. So I had to upskill myself. I had to acquire new tools. I had to understand the business. All these things will help you after your maternity break to actually be ready for the market. The last 1.5 years during the pandemic has actually changed the face of the business around the world. So there are new skill sets that you need to acquire. You need to be a technology savvy. You need to understand the business more. You might need to shift your career, for example, to one of the new business lines, as I was just talking also in the room, digitization, digital banking. A lot of industries just surfaced during that the previous year. And I think you need to prepare yourself to join one of those and to have a solid career path for yourself in there.
Be ready to pivot.
Yes.
Exactly. That's a key word. Pivot.
Be ready
Always
to pivot.
We are.
Can we hear from Mirna also? Please. What is your advice for women who have taken a gap
I
from
cannot agree more with the Iman. Sorry, was it Iman? Yes. It's mainly your self-development. So it's and what I would suggest also, she mentioned networking, but this is the only way. Mainly, it's through the network that you build, and filter. Look into exactly what you want. What is the industry that you want? What is the function that you want? And from those filters, grow your network there. and build the skills that you need to be tackling those industries and functions. So I cannot agree more with Iman. She actually gave specific courses as well that she did and so on. But I would add to that just filter because, you know, it's a very wide range sea that we are in at the moment. And if you don't filter exactly what you want and have a focus to base your knowledge and your skills there, it will be too much, you know, I would say pillars that maybe your focus will get lost somewhere, or your network will be like confused with mainly what you're exactly looking. So have that focus into filtering what you really want and build it from there.
Thank you, Mirna. Zaid, what is your input on that for women, mothers who have taken a gap, you know, to care for their kids, and they want to go back into the work field or the workforce again? What should they do? What is your top advice?
So as a firm, we have a program for new parents, whether they be mothers or fathers, whether they take maternity leave, or we also have paternity leave provision as well. So we look at everything really. We have a team that provides support, and we also have a program to help people who've come from maternity leave rejoin the workforce. And the way they can do that is either to take on a role that's broadly comparable to what they were doing pre-maternity, or if they wish to do something else, they may join another team, develop skills experience in another area, and if they want, they can either stay there or move to another team. The key thing is providing them with flexibility and choice, and also just to help support them with regards to their family commitments. You know, we have, you know, flexible working times. We can provide child support and you know, allow people to work remotely, work from home as and when needed, especially, you know, in the first couple of years. I know I have a 3-month-old baby girl, so I understand that, you know, the challenges of, you know, raising a child. So, you know, it's important that your employer provides support and, you know, and the right kind of you know, provision to help you on the journey.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zaid. Do we have any other questions that we can help you with? We have our guest speakers with us. Please feel free to unmute yourself and speak directly to them.
Yeah, I have a question.
Omar, please go ahead.
Yeah. How can the recruiter can bring the two statements of fake it to make it and be yourself together? How can you distinguish between that?
Who's your question directed to, Omar?
I think I got it from Marina, and I got
Mirna.
it from, yeah, and from Tim.
Yeah, Tim is not here with us yet, so Mirna.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't get your name again.
Omar.
Omar.
Omar, there are many necessities that we are driven by. There's a lot of needs. So you really need, okay, so you have first, the biggest need is your need for a job. But again, you have the other need, which is to be productive, have a career that suits your personality. But what's happening now is the necessity for a job is dominating the necessity for looking into what you really want. Hence, when people go to the interview, no matter how much they're well prepared, that necessity is more dominant and is more shown on the body language. What you can do with fake it till you make it is you collect all the information needed about the company, all the information needed about the culture of that company, all the information needed about the role that you're applying to. And even if it's not if you're not meeting all the skill sets required, collect all information about those skill set and work on and literally work on your do demos. I mean, I used to do a lot of asking myself a question and answering that question. So really preparing myself and also working on my body language through talking through friends. So I kind of like ask me those list of questions that I would be expecting in the interview. And I would tell her, please pay attention to my body language and advise me. And the more you practice, the more you will fake it till you make it. So as simple as that, it's just through practice, through friend, through family member, and getting all the information needed on the company, on the culture, on the job itself. And that's how you fake it till you make it, with practice.
I agree, Myrna. If I would add to this, actually, Omar, to your question, I will give you a very simple example of fake it until you make it. In the beginning of my career, I had a fear of public speaking. I couldn't even speak in front of any crowd. I was very shy. I used to hear my heartbeats through my ears. I couldn't even have a simple presentation at my work, for example, let's say. And as just Myrna said, I started practicing and bringing my sisters, and I start presenting in front of them. I get my friends, I let them notice my body language, and I've worked a lot. And I faked being confident, right? And I faked being whatever it is until I make it. Now I speak in conferences in front of many participants. Now I present in front of the boards and executive management and everything. So fake it until you make it is not a negative statement, but on the contrary, it's totally important technique on how do you deceive your mind to actually acquire the skill, even if you have a psychological barrier inside yourself that can't make you do it. So you will eventually do it if you believe it. So I agree with you, Myrna. I can't agree more about fake until you make things for self-learning.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. Our brains play tricks on us, and we can rewire them, to anything that we want. And this is proven scientifically. So if you want more confidence, you can rewire your brain to become more confident. If you want to get a job, you can train yourself to get a job. And authenticity is what, I speak to a lot of recruiters, and that's number one thing that they look for. They look for someone who's authentic, who's real, who understands their value proposition, and someone who's a team player, someone who's flexible. And we will touch upon these later. Any more questions to our speakers today? I know in a couple of minutes, everyone will be back here to the main room, and we will have the closing marks. I think they started to join. And then we will have, yes?
Hi, it's Ahmed Allo here speaking. Yeah. Just to follow up on Iman's statement about public speaking, I think it's very valid. We have all been striving how to do the right public speaking and how to get the confidence. But starting last year with the pandemic, I think, so I have been also in the same struggle to do a good public speaking. But when the pandemic, since for the last 1.5 years, I have not done a big event where there's a lot plus 10 people in front of me. And then when I say plus 10 people, I say customers, for example, not the board, where I'm a little bit more comfortable to talk to. Do you think this will be a trait that will dissolve and no longer be there, let's say, for the next 2-3 years when we are virtually doing all the activities? Because in the virtual platform, you might have much more confidence since you are not connecting that much if no one is opening the camera. So you can do a webinar for 200 people you cannot see faces. So you can talk. So would you think this trait will be a quite a rare trait in the upcoming future?
Yes, it is actually being able to present your ideas and to speak in front of people is a very important trait. It's actually crucial for many jobs. There are jobs that are, let's say, not doesn't require much on that front, but let's say you progressing in your career, even your job doesn't require that right now, but being senior enough, I think you cannot avoid that kind of interaction, and this will happen sooner or later. So you better be prepared, as we just said, and pivot if you have this, and that applies to any other skill. So if you feel that you lack this, or you don't have it, you have the psychological barrier, you have to start working on it, and you will get in there. It's just a matter of practice.
Thank you, Ahmed. Any more questions? Everybody will be joining us in 2 minutes for the wrap up. Ray, you wanted to have a question to Iman?
I have a question.
Hi, Iman.
Hi.
I was just curious as to what is the sectors that ADQ see as a particular growth opportunities in the next 5 to 10 years versus the, I think, industries that pre-COVID, you know, their fortunes may look substantially different post-COVID, and other ones I think are probably facing growth opportunities that they would not have foreseen a year ago.
Yeah. So the thinking is absolutely shifting from traditional sectors, from traditional industries, towards more of the new trends and business lines. So things that we are mainly focusing on right now is artificial intelligence, for example, fintech. We are establishing our new digital bank. We are establishing a venture capital platform, for example, a digital platform, Disrupt AD. It's so the traditional sectors will still remain, like, for example, the healthcare sector. Yeah. So it's going to be there. It should be there. The education sector, for example, but we are looking to restructure those sectors. So even the way the business is done will change, but sectors are there. New sectors are now penetrated or being created. So they are basically around digitization, artificial intelligence, technology, power, clean power. What else? So these are basically the sectors we are looking at right now, and the other part of the business is restructuring the existing traditional sectors to cope with the new trends, the business trends in the whole world. So I hope I answered your question.
Yes, you did. Thank you, Emma.
No worries.
Thank you. Any more questions before we wrap up, and then we will hear from each of our corporate representatives on the top advice for candidates looking for jobs. We'll just wait a minute until everyone joins the room. 2 minutes, actually. So while waiting for 2 minutes, anyone has a question for our recruiters? We have also Inspire Selection team, Louise, Elaine, Carol, Alexandra, Karen also, they're here with us. So if you have any question.
I have a question.
Yes, please, go ahead.
So my question is, it is not about how to hire, but if you are already in an organization and you feel that you're stuck in the middle management, you're just a trap inside this middle management, and you are struggling to go for the next layer to be an executive leader or director inside the organization. What do you think the areas that we should focus on? It is more, leadership part, how to demonstrate that you have this capacity, improved capacity to take more responsibility and be more influential member inside the organization.
Omar, is your question addressed to Louise from Inspire Selection?
Yes.
Yes, Louise.
Hi.
it's very difficult if you're not getting noticed. Is this your problem? You don't feel like you're getting the opportunity to step up? Because do people not notice you? Do they overlook you and consider other people?
Could you clarify, Omar?
Sorry, I missed your voice. Can you repeat?
Yeah, do you feel like you're not being considered for opportunities when they come up? Do people usually, promote other people but not you?
Not necessarily this is the case, but how to create this opportunity, maybe how to attract the attention of the organization that, okay, here am I, and I can do and take more responsibility, while just keeping the repetition responsibility. I mean, just repeat it and stay in the same position.
To be honest, this is kind of something a bit outside my realm. I'm a recruiter rather than a talent development person. But I would just say make yourself visible to the top management by, offering to do projects on the side or networking internally with other heads of departments. What is your position at the moment?
I'm a manager.
Yes, but what industry and a manager of what?
Manufacturing.
Manufacturing, right, yeah. And who is your direct boss?
Is the industrial director.
Okay, and as far as your career goes within the business, have you been ever promoted before? And secondly, yes, is the next role up, is that your boss's job?
I got promoted 3 years ago, and I feel now it is a bit tough to get more promotion, and go advance in the organization, because it will take more critical responsibility inside the organization. So I was thinking about which techniques, which tools, which enablers that can be used to help to sell this capacity inside.
The question is how to progress within the organization. And we will hear from everyone. This is a question for all the recruiters who have joined us today. How to progress in the organization, that's question number 1. And question number 2, which is the wrap up for today's session, is for all the recruiters that are with us today and for all corporate representatives, what is your top advice for candidates who are looking to change careers or who are looking for opportunities? And I will start by calling out names since everyone has come out here. So Fiona, can we start with Fiona? Fiona Richardson from Cigna.
Hiba, she's left because she has a meeting. So
okay. All right. Okay. So can I hear from Jad? Jad Schumann, are you still with us? HKA team. Okay. Right. Do we have Pankaj with us? Rainier. Osama can help us with this question. Osama, I know that you do a lot of career development.
My pleasure. What is the question again? Sorry.
So actually 2 questions that we would like to ask everyone about. The first question is, how do you progress in your organization moving from mid management level into more senior level? And then the question number 2 is, what is your top advice for candidates looking for new roles or looking to change careers? So career changers. Let's start with the first one.
First one, how do you advance? I think my personal experience was, it's twofold. First, relationships. So, and this is more important, counterintuitively, it's more important, but relationships. How people view you as someone who deals with problems, interpersonal problems, how people view you as someone who is committed, not committed to work, but committed to management and committed to the decision makers. Now, people might people might think that this is, counterintuitive or against ethics or something. It's not. There's a reason why there are bosses. There's a hierarchy in the organization. There are decision makers. So how you are with them, and I'm not trying to say that you have to be kissing someone's backside. That's not the point. The point is being good at what you do and then making sure that you align to them. That's what I mean. And they will take notice if they're truthful. Now, if they're not truthful, then you need to change jobs, obviously. So that's question number one. Question number two, if you're looking for a new job or a new career, it's simple. What is it that you want? Put it as a target, as a goal, and then work backwards from there. That job, I want to be a consultant at Deloitte. I want to work for Zaid, let's say. So if I would see what Zaid as a person, I would look him up. I would understand his own aspiration, his own projects. I would digitally stalk him professionally. And then once I know everything I need to know, I put a plan into acquiring that knowledge and skill set, which will take time. Once I do that, then I go and approach Zaid and I'd say, you know what, Mr. Zaid, this is and by the way, I did once that, and it was not, how do I say it? I did approach an employer that did not have a job opening through this technique by telling them, I know what you do and I know what you aspire to be as an organization, and this is what I can do through offering this. And I think you need this role, so can you open it? And I've been working on it and I did this and that. And genuinely, and this happened for my move, if anyone looked at my profile on LinkedIn, from Dubai World Trade Center to Avaya, in Avaya, they never have strategy consultants per se or a department that is as strong. So I felt that, you know what, this is what I want. And it was coincidentally the year that I finished my MBA, and I went to them, I went to the decision maker and I said, you know what, this is what you need, this is what I can offer, and that is what I ask for, right? So everything really comes back to preparations and planning, whether it's going up or going to a different organization. It's not about openings. And by the way, anyone who's looking for job openings already lost. It's not about job openings. It's about what can you offer. So do your homework, understand what they want, come up with new innovative ways to offer value to them, go and present it to them. Like Tim said, it's about the elevator pitch. If you're able to, in 30 seconds or 20 seconds, highlight it to them, I promise you, they will take you and probably pay you more. So, and this always happens. The moment there's a job opening, I know it's cooked at some level. I know someone is looking for something and it's just a tick in the box. So I never ever apply for jobs that are already announced.
I think Zaid wants to say something.
Salman's point it's a good point. And just to build on that, as a career changer, think about, why you want to do a career change and the value you bring to a new employer. And look at it from the perspective of the employer. So you're coming in, you might not have the skill set the employer is looking for, whereas there could be other candidates who do. So why would they pick you over a candidate who does have the skills and is already in that industry or already has the skills? And that's where the whole point about transferable skills, about aligning your skills to your career aspirations come in. And that's where you have the opportunity to really present to your prospective employers the value that you provide. Because as Osama rightly said, and I think that's been the theme throughout the morning, is it's about value and the transference of value to the organization. And if you can't demonstrate that, then it's not going to be a compelling proposition for an employer, because ultimately, why are they hiring you to do a job, to fulfill a role? And that's really critical that comes out. These points come out in your conversations with them.
Thank you so much, Zaid. Can I hear from Carolyn and Alex? What are your take on career progression and your top advice for candidates who are looking to change their jobs or looking for new opportunities?
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Carolyn. I work with the Inspire selection team. I think the changing career topic one is something that I'm very familiar with because it wasn't too long ago during the pandemic that I actually had to, as Lee said, pivot my industry knowledge. And so I used to recruit specifically for the event sector, and I specialized in events, all areas of events, including technology, so event technology. And when the pandemic hit and robbed us all, as Usama has said before, of our event industry out here in the Middle East, I did the traditional pivots to see where my skill set lay, what knowledge I had accessible to me that would be relevant in different markets. And that technology side of things was what highlighted, I did my research. It was something that kept coming back and highlighted itself to me. So I then actually moved into digital recruitment, and that's a very vast breadth of, it covers a lot of different domains, the word digital. But having moved into a more digital focused, technology focused recruitment, drive, I needed to start familiarizing myself once again with candidates, with professionals, where where people were struggling, what value needed to be added to certain companies, the types of candidates could bring that value to the organizations. So I think homework, preparation, these words have all been, echoed throughout this morning. People trying to, what's the most important thing a candidate can do is prepare. I think that's testimony to any person, any professional, any, person trying to strive for a good career is preparation. So understanding your markets, understanding the market of the industry you're hoping to break into, speak to as many professionals within that market as possible. Learn from them, find out what it is that they do on a daily basis, where they struggle, what you can potentially do to help relieve those struggles, and start recognizing your skill set and matching them to the industry that you're hoping to break into. For me, it's worked out very, very well. Our digital desk is one of the busiest with Inspire at the moment, and we're working with some exceptional candidates and some awesome clients, and we've been able to pinpoint the value that's needed for our clients and the added value that candidates can bring forward. It's a new age, things are moving. I'm always so interested to learn of these new jobs that are coming about that nobody's even heard of, because technology and innovation is constantly challenging us. So I would say if you are looking to advance your career, if you are looking to break into a new market, it's all about preparation. It's all about market knowledge, industry knowledge, insight knowledge. Make sure you've got a little black book of people that you can rely on, fall back on, have a coffee with, talk about their experience, learn from people. And that's definitely been how I've been able to, pivot within the pandemic. But it's what we do as recruiters all day long. We're constantly teaching ourselves, candidates, clients on how we can adapt, how we can move forward, and how, pairing the right people together to make, those objectives of a company come to life.
Yeah, I think it definitely can be quite challenging to sort of move industries. We know out here people can be a little narrow-minded in organisations, sort of thinking they need their exact skill set. Or the problem is as well, I think, where there is a market where it's saturated with people right now, there is a lot of good talent on the market. Employers can find people with those relevant skills. So it's about, I think, very much what Osama was saying, figure out what it is you are applying for, what are the skill sets necessary, and make yourself stand out. So look at the job descriptions that are being listed, really highlight your soft skills perhaps that you think make you a good fit for that, acquire the harder or more technical skills, which are always easier to teach, showing the right attitude and approaching people in the organizations that that you want to get into in those roles, whether it's the hiring managers or HR or recruiters, engaging with their content online, trying to get yourself noticed, and put your best foot forward by showing the value that you can add when you're sort of putting those messages out there on either the email or within your CV, really. It is a challenging thing to to change industry or change roles, but it's not impossible. And again, use your recruiter, build a strong relationship with recruiters in your industry, because again, it's not necessarily what you know, it's who you know in these markets. So if you know an employer directly and they know your work ethic and you as a person, then that's a step in the door. But you can use your recruiter who's built those relationships with those clients, who might sort of say, you know, if they buy into what you're capable of, they can sell you effectively to that client, and based on, you know, put their reputation on the line to say, you know, please interview this person, I can see potential, so they can back you as well. So have a good relationship with your recruiters, and approach them about the roles that are of interest, and see if we have relationships we can connect you with.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I think investing in relationships, building relationships is key to everything, whether you want to progress in your career, whether you want to find a new job. It's just the core of everything in careers is building relationships. And I'm really conscious of time. I just want to open the floor if there are any more questions from the audience to our panelists before we wrap up the session. Do we have any questions that you would like to ask to our panelists?
I think
Please unmute.
there's a question on the chat from Luai.
Yes,
Luai
would you?
Banura. Yeah.
So Luai's question is regarding finding opportunities in another country while not having experience in that country, as many recruiters ask for specific country experience. So the question is relevant if somebody would like to change geographically, move from one country to another. What should they focus on? And I think some of you have touched upon, you know, transferable skills. What is really needed to gain that kind of country or geographical industry experience that is required for someone to make the shift? Who would like to answer that question?
But allow me to answer that, because I also have a meeting in 5 minutes, so I will have.
Yes, Mirna, please go ahead.
So, allow me to use a metaphor for you to understand me easier. Picture yourself as your new product that you want to launch in that particular country. So first thing, when you want to launch a new product, you look into what is the need, who's your targeted audience. So you look into the exact needs in that particular market, you look into what's the audience needing, and then you equip yourself with those features that is needed. So you look into anything that this targeted audience is looking for, and then you pitch yourself. It doesn't matter really, Usama said it greatly before. It doesn't really matter. You pitch, you make it as a need. It's not necessarily like, you know, having the country knowledge really. It's not. It's a skills. It's you. It's looking into what exactly that targeted audience needing, and then tackle them, pitch it as if you're adding value to them. It's not necessarily whether you have the geographical exposure or not. It's just targeting the need that they have, and then pitching yourself accordingly by equipping yourself with all the skills or the knowledge that they're looking for, and then building those networks and the relationship with that target audience. So I hope, thank you, first of all, everyone. I really have to go. And it was lovely connecting and networking with all of you. I hope to see you and bump into you in various different ways. Feel free to get in touch with me on LinkedIn if you ever want to have any more, you know, if you have any more questions, or if you have any opportunity that you're looking for, I'm more than happy. I'm always available on LinkedIn. You can always contact us on our career portal as well.
Thank you so much, Mirna. Thank you for your contribution.
Everyone. Have a lovely day.
Thank you. You too. Have a wonderful day. I think we haven't heard from Azzeldin Hussein from VMware and going into technology. Hello, Azzeldin.
Hello. Hi, Hiba.
I just wanted to ask you, what is your comment on someone who wants to progress in their career?
Well, it's a tricky because it's a different from one to the other. So, for example, for
maybe
me,
let's focus on technology.
Yeah,
since you are in
so in technology, here is the good things for in the technology side of the world. You don't need to be like a manager or in a high rank to be a leader. So anyone can be a leader within technology companies by acting as an individual contributor. So and this is really what's it's impressive, and you will be surprised. People who is acting as an individual contributor in our company get paid and treated maybe like a VPs or like an executive director. So people usually or traditionally or even still till now they look for like the traditional hierarchy. I have to be an employee, then manager, then senior manager, director, and so on. We broke this, and we give the right of like a director or a VP to a normal individual contributor, so he still can lead, he still can show and prove himself without having the title. And this is really, I see it very special and interesting when it comes to maybe mainly it's happening in the technology companies, because we rely on our main asset is people. Yeah. So we don't own like offices or lands, or we don't have any physical assets. Our asset is just the brains and people who is doing those kind of software, being able to deliver it, meet our customers, sell the solution. So this is what we are really trying to do and retain and being able to develop those kind of brain and asset to be more valuable for us more and more.
Right.
And yeah, this is by experience. I had the same. I used to like for a year acting as a leader in my company, even before having the title. Yes, I got it. And they said, you know what, enough for you to be an individual contributor. It's a time to generate for us more individual contributor. And hopefully I'm doing this.
Thank you so much, Azzuddin, for your contribution. Can I hear from Sean before we end the session? Sean, are you with us?
Hey, I can ask something if Sean was there about the technology. People need to go on the technology side.
Yes, absolutely, Muhammad. We'd love your contribution.
You know, like especially technology nowadays, really, you know, most of the technology you can learn it online today. You go today in Coursera, you go in other sites, you have all the ways, you know, people which really done a big impact like Uber, like all of this is few number of young guys, they came with some good ideas, very, you know, some line of codes, it changes the world actually today. So now I tell you, one of the big entrepreneurs, one of the big companies in San Francisco, I looked at his bio, you know, like most of the courses in the big data and so on was from Coursera. It's very easy nowadays, people to go learn. It's free of charge, actually, most of it. And then really they can make a big impact today. So people need to go into technology. It's not like before. It's not like to go in a university, or not like to go in a big class, pay lots of money. So I think the opportunity for people to go into technology is much, much easier, much better than before. Thank you.
Thank you, Muhammad. I would like to wrap up now. So the main takeaways from today's session is everyone who's looking for career progression or for change in a role, for career shifters, you have to have the flexibility. You have to be able to be agile and to adapt quickly. You should look at upskilling and reskilling, actually. We should look at learning and developing ourselves. There's no excuse for any one of us with the wealth of information available there online and also through universities like us, not to keep on learning. Each one of us should have a sense of purpose and a value proposition. We should be able to pivot. And on pivoting, I do recommend that you read the book by Jenny Blake on pivot and how to focus on your next move. Each one of us should also be authentic, because people like people who are real and who are genuine. And when you're researching opportunities, make sure that you do your homework, that you learn more about the corporates that you're interested in, that you look them up, and just like Osama said, go find out more about them, learn about them, you know, stalk them if you want. Go find out if they play golf, if they're on internet, if they follow certain groups. And always, 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 if you're going to an interview or if you're going to build relationships with a company or with a person, make sure that you prepare for the interviews and be proactive. It is your own development. It is your own career. You should be responsible for this. So don't wait for anyone to push you. Closing marks, I'll leave it to Osama. to end the session and wrap up. And Osama, any final words before we end the session and thank everyone for joining us?
I think there's nothing for me to add. You've said it all. I think the summary is very clear. It's a choice that we have, a choice to, every day to develop ourselves and make sure that we understand and are aware. It's a choice to put in the work, put in the reps, and then, not expecting results immediately. The Amazon one-click buy mentality is now everywhere. People think that they submitted a CV, they didn't land a job the next day. That's the mentality that we're seeing nowadays. It's more about your development. Universities such as Manchester or London Business School or any of those business schools, they give us the tools. It's up to us to use these tools into developing ourselves. So what I'd like to say is thank you very much for everybody. Thank you, Heba and the Manchester team for the opportunity to be part of this. I'm really thrilled and humbled. Thank you.
Thank you, Osama. Any final words, Iman? You are on mute. Yes.
Yeah, no, I'm not. So thank you so much for the opportunity, and it was a very interesting discussion, and I hope we have benefited everyone who's in the session. Again, you have my LinkedIn, you have my Facebook, even Instagram. I think so. You can reach out anytime if you have any questions, even if you need to any help with your career search or anything else on any front. I'm here to help in any shape or form and happy to support. Thank you so much and enjoy your day.
Thank you, Iman. Inspire team, Louise, any final remarks? Louise, Elaine, and Kern.
Yeah, hi. I just think the final comment there about not being Amazon type one click is hit the nail on the head there, Osama, because you have to work to get a job. You can't just send a CV and expect you're going to get an interview. And even when you get selected for the interview, you've got to work your ass off to get the job. You're up against other people, even in the interview process. So yeah, it's a lot of hard work to get a job, and you've got to be prepared to put in the work. If anybody wants to send us their CV, you can send it to me. My email is louise@inspireselection.com, and then I can forward it to the relevant recruiter. Thank you very much for having us.
You can reach out to me if you want to be connected to Inspire Selection team or any other members who were with us today. And with this, I would like to thank you all. This has been a great morning. Thank you all for your insights, for the knowledge, for the tips that you have shared with our candidates. And we look forward to seeing you again in future events. And have a great, great morning and afternoon now, since we've almost noon. So thank you again for your contribution, and we look forward to seeing you soon.